So another really interesting bike, certainly for me anyway, I'm not sure so much for Darren, but certainly for me, KTM's new middleweight adventure bike. Their 790 Adventure, which is their road variant, and the Adventure R, which is kind of more off-road biased, which we've just got behind us. This bike has been produced kind of in response to KTM's existing customer base. They've been sort of screaming out for a lighter weight, slightly smaller capacity motored adventure bike that will do both the on-road stuff, so it'll do mile munching, but it'll also be a seriously capable off-roading machine. So you can ride the trails, you can really hustle the bike off-road too. So what they've produced is two different variants. So they've got the standard Adventure and the Adventure R, which is the bike behind us.
So this is a more road-orientated bike.
This is the more road-orientated bike. So obviously you'll see a couple of different sort of significant aesthetic differences. First, the front mudguard is obviously much closer to the wheel, and then when you look at the Adventure R bike, you've got more of a beak. It's a much higher position, which is kind of more traditional with on-off-road.
Longer travel suspension.
Longer travel, so you've both got a 20-litre tank, so you've also got a bike with a massive amount of range as well, which is really useful for a tour like this. You've got Karoo knobblies on that one. Avon have taken care of the tyres on this, so you've got a much more road biased tyre on this bike as well, whereas something that's much more off-road biased on the R-Spec bike. Suite of electronics. So cornering ABS, TFT screen, optional cruise control. You know, it's got a raft of nice technical bits and pieces on it. I mean, I've had a good sit on it today. I'm a fan actually.
Well, you've rode the 790, haven't you?
I have.
So you have got a bit of insider knowledge.
Absolutely, I was lucky enough to.
And actually, the 790 has been a super popular bike, and really highly rated by pretty much everyone I've seen and talked to who've rode it.
Well, I think you know the reality is KTM have had to come to the party in a big way in that sort of middleweight sector. You've got the Triumph 765 Triple, you've got Z900, you've got some really MT09, you've got some really competitive bikes in that area. So the 790,
great engine,
great. It had to be a really good bike, and that 790 motor is brilliant. Parallel twin, just shy of 100 horsepower. The other thing with this, and I think
nice weight,
nice weight. Yeah, absolutely. You took the words right out of my mouth. The reality with this is it has to be a lighter weight bike. So it's 189 kilos dry.
Is it?
Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking.
Well, you know, it seems like most bikes that we're sort of like talking about now, you know, they're all sort of like knocking on that 200 plus. We reviewed a Harley yesterday, it's 300 kilos, I'm sure. Yeah.
I think my house weighs slightly less than that Harley Davidson. It was probably a bit cheaper.
But anyway,
we liked it.
Back to the KTM.
Yeah, so it's a key factor though, that is. You know, I think we're going to talk about some of the more sport-orientated bikes over the next couple of days, and we do some more reviews. And everybody is very careful to make sure that their bikes are getting lighter and more powerful. What KTM have done really well here is they've responded to what their customers have asked for. They wanted a lighter bike, but a bike with good torque and good power. And you know, having ridden the 790, it goes tremendously well. It's got a hugely characterful motor, but loads of torque, good linear spread of power. But on a lighter weight bike, this is a bike you could, if you dropped it, you could probably pick it up. And I know that sounds silly, but I mean, look, we were out in Spain this year with Red Tread. How many times were we picking bikes up off the floor?
Well, I mean, for me, that was one of the takeaway factors. Is actually, if I was going to do serious off-roading, you know, you're probably going to crash it at some point.
Well, I mean,
and
goes without saying, doesn't it? Really?
Do you want a quarter of a ton machine either landing on your leg or wanting to pick it up, or do you actually want to drop a 20 grand motorcycle?
No, absolutely.
And scuff up all the sides, all that kind of stuff. So these lighter weight adventure bikes have really got, you know, some traction, haven't they? Because actually they're lighter weight, but then they have all the benefits of some of the bigger machines, that they are mile munching, they've got your heated grips, they've got all the TFT, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I mean, it really
which you don't get with a proper enduro bike.
No, you don't, absolutely not. And, you know,
I mean, that WR250F, I mean, great at what it does, but it was a tool for doing what it does
totally
and
basic.
nothing else.
Yeah. I mean, you know, that is very much fit for one particular purpose. Yes. I think what they try to do with this is create a bike that just ticks an awful lot of boxes, and they've done a very good job of that. And you know, the weight is also a factor when you think about how much power the bike needs. You know, if you look at, dare I say it, something like a GS, you're talking about quarter of a ton, nearest, damn it. You know, you certainly put some panniers on it and a full tank of fuel. This is a 200 kilo bike, so you don't need to run a huge performance engine. You can have something that, again, it means because you've got a compact motor in there, it's lighter weight, lower centre of gravity, it's narrower, so it's easier to handle when you're standing on the pegs. You know, it does tick an awful lot of boxes. I mean, styling-wise, well, you know, I guess it's like anything, isn't it? It's a matter of opinion. I really like it. I particularly like it with the white fairing rather than the orange. The only sort of big
come over to this one, Mark.
Ambiguous area with this bike at the moment is of course that we don't know how much it's going to be priced at. Now I did have a sneaky little word with one of the guys who's working on the stand this week, and I think we were both in rough agreement. I think 12-ish is probably going to where you're going to start. But
is that right?
Again, you could have a suite of accessories, sump guards, all this type of thing. I mean, there's loads of different bits and pieces you want to put on it. If
well,
you were
sump guard is the standard, must be right.
Do you know what? I'm not entirely sure. I'd have to have a look. Obviously the pricing.
But it's a
isn't
proper
there.
sump guard, It's not a nod to one. It is a proper sump guard.
Absolutely.
The only other area I'm slightly not so clear about is obviously all this side mounting and stuff.
Yeah.
You're going to whack the hell out of that if you drop it. And obviously a direct competitor would be something like the brand new Tenere 700. I think. In my own personal opinion, just looking at it, I would sort of, if you're going to give me the choice, one or the other, I'd probably take the Tenere at this point.
I think the key word here is compromise, isn't it? And I think we're going to look at that Tenere, and again, it's a really interesting motorcycle, a motorcycle that I think Yamaha have been threatening to produce for a good period of time. Again, we were here last year. They had the prototype, the concept variant, and it was obvious it was going to come. But I do think that is a significantly more off-road biased bike. I think they are really trying to find a compromise between having something with good road manners and also something that's really capable off-road. And it's quite difficult to get that balance
KTM
right.
are the king of off-road, right?
I mean, again, we've had conversations with guys who do a lot more off-roading than we ever will, and they speak very, very highly of what KTM do on the off-road side.
Phenomenal.
I think again, the proof will be in the pudding, won't it? Ultimately, it's another bike we would love to have a go on at some stage and ride on road and ride off-road. We'll just have to wait and see. Like I say, the only thing that we don't really know at this point in time is what it's going to cost. But
I'll give it some context.
Absolutely.
Watch this
space.